All right, let's talk about how my office is now different. It's not, um, I, after being in my office for 5 years, it was time to give it up to be a playroom. That room's not done yet, and I will show you what that looks like when it's done, but let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to the Business Podcast featuring me, Super Joe Pardo. And today I want to talk about the letter that I wrote last week and how that relates to taking a step back in your business to reflect and to make a decision on whether or not something is a good or a great idea. When I wrote that letter last week, I knew that there was going to be some pushback. For the most part, there wasn't a whole lot of pushback. In fact, I got quite a few letters and messages and people that wrote out to me saying, "Hey, I really appreciate what you've done, Joe. Not just for you, but for podcasting as a whole." And then the pushback that I got was like, "Oh, well, that's sponsored content, and that's no good." And I just want to address that real quick. My show, my business model has very little to do with whether or not I'm being paid to do sponsored interviews. Now I say sponsored last week, and I talked about it being like a promotion fee. I've changed that. I tweaked that a little bit. You're sponsoring the episode. By sponsoring the episode, you're sponsoring the show, and by sponsoring the show, you're supporting the show, and you're able, like, it helps make up some of the time that it takes to put this show together. So, I think that when you're trying to do something that's so radically different, now not to say there aren't other people out there doing what I have already put forward, because there are, and there's some people doing it really, really well apparently, but there's not many, right? So by and large, people think that everything has to be. In fact, I had some people say, "Oh, well, if you're not going to do interviews, what are you podcasting for?" I mean, like, well, I'm wearing a MapCon shirt right now, Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference. Go check it out. It's in September. If podcasting doesn't have to be, an interview-based show. It's funny because when I got started, the only shows I knew of were Disney-based roundtable discussion shows that once in a while I would have an interview on with a special guest or something to that effect. So when you're trying to decide for your business whether or not you should be open and honest about it, I'm going to say yes. The article was retweeted out by a couple of podcasting news organizations and, had a little bit of success. It had like 550 views in like 4 days, which is not like amazing, but I think it's not bad either. And considering that most of the response that I got back was pretty positive, I'd say overall it was a pretty good success to get it out there. As far as people like those PR agencies reaching out and telling me or giving me these guest suggestions, for the most part, I got pretty good responses back. Most of them said leave it up to the guest, their client, my guest, to decide whether or not they want to be on a premium platform and pay a sponsorship fee to do so. Not everyone felt that way, and that's okay. Look, this is business. And again, this isn't my business model. If it was, my whole website would be focused on getting people to sign up and be funneled into paying to be a guest on my show, and that's clearly not the case. I'm still vetting my guests like I've done in the past. That's not changed and won't change, frankly. I think that people kind of sometimes get caught up in that whole, like, oh, you're making money from what you love to do. And it's like, yeah, well, this is a business. I love business. You should be making something out of something that you love. And that's where the Dreamers podcast came into, play for all those years. So let's talk about taking a step back. When you do something like what I did, where you put yourself out there and you write this really long letter to explain, like, hey, let's put it in a business sense, right? Like, I'm going to start charging a fee. right, for my services. My services were fee free at one point. Now I'm charging a service fee or something to that effect. Or yeah, like you offer a service and it was a free complimentary service, but now you're going to start charging for that fee. That's fine. Being upfront is super, super important for your customer base to be like, hey, there's people there, and here's why they're doing this. This isn't just a money grab. This isn't just for profit. And I've seen something about how millennials in particular really want that connection to a business. When, but I don't think that's a new concept. When I was reading that article, I was thinking to myself, like, when you think about like your grandparents, your great grandparents, many of them, or even in some cases, your parents, right? They worked at one company. Maybe it was a factory, maybe it was Ford, maybe it was blah blah blah, and they stayed there for their entire career, retired, got a pension, and it was awesome. They felt a connection to that place, and they felt a connection so much so that they would stay there for endless years. And they would buy American or buy that particular type of brand because of that brand loyalty that they felt from the get-go. So I think that it's not really a new concept that millennials feel they need to have that social responsibility aspect. I mean, my business has it. Donating to HopeWorks, 10% of our profits each year to HopeWorks in Camden. So it's something about having that feel good nature to give back. That you can connect with, and going with that, being able to be open and honest, and having that honest and open conversation, it just is going to make all the world of difference to your client base and your customers. Some people wanted to really go off about how hey Joe, you're making a change in your business, and we don't know if it's going to be successful or not. But to me, I already knew it was going to be successful because I knew that I was about to change how my whole show was structured, and how my YouTube channel and my business podcast was going to become one. I saw that vision. In fact, that's why the new website address is going to be thebusiness.tv instead of thebusinesspodcast.com, because this isn't just a podcast anymore. This is a podcast, this is a video, this is me writing articles about business. This is everything that I've worked towards from the last 3.5 years coming together to build a one unified brand and one unified message of not just life and how to be how to self-develop yourself, but also business, and how to self-develop yourself through your business and develop your business at the same time. So like my mantra is always build your business for your lifestyle, not your lifestyle for your business. Now there's a lot of people that want to say, oh, it's a lifestyle business or this, that, or third. That's fine, but if you already have a business, you need to work towards that. It's not just a given that you're going to obtain that lifestyle that you're looking for because you have a business. Money doesn't accommodate for that all the time. So yeah. So I think you really want to take a look at taking a step back, especially after you've made a big change, and just evaluate how you're doing it, how you're feeling it. I know when going through those changes and getting some of those responses, I felt not great about them. It didn't feel like like, oh man, I obviously I made the right decision. Some people felt I made the right decision. I knew, even though sometimes it's hard to see it like in the short term, that like I'm making the right decision for me, my family, my business, for my platform, for my guests, for everybody. It can sometimes get muddled because somebody has something negative to say or not super positive to say about it. And I'd love to say that it's easy to just shrug all that off and move on, but it's not always easy to just shrug it off and move on. It can be very difficult, and that's why you gotta find the buttons to press to make it so that you know how to hit your reset button, so you can keep on moving forward. with your decision, and I don't regret this at all. Now I love this because I get the platform that I've worked so hard to build to talk to people like this one on one, to a camera, to the podcast, my voice to your ears, as we say in podcasting, and do things that are kind of creative. So, do I know where I'm heading as far as like what if the video ends up being more popular than the podcast? Well, that's a possibility too. I don't know. I know a lot of people watched the last video, and a lot of people even like so it was about the podcast episode was about 4 times more popular than the video of the same exact thing that's in here. So I don't know. Maybe that'll change over time. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'm shooting these videos for my own pleasure and just to continue to have new content on my YouTube channel. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But I want you to take this away and to think about this over the course of this week of how am I going to take a step back from a change that I've just made or I'm about to make, and shortly after I make that change. Really think about how you're going to stay positive, motivated, and not just crushed under the pressure of, well, we made a big change and now I need to go back to this the way it was, because obviously I didn't get the parade, the red carpet and the parade all ticker taped out for me and all that. And that's okay. Because not everyone's going to see it the way that you see it. And as I think I may, one thing I didn't maybe wrote about in the note was, some of the people that were kind of negative about the change, I don't know that they understand what it's like to get 50 to 100 emails a week. Not a week, a month, in your inbox looking for people or to have guests show up, be on your show. It's a bit overwhelming, especially because you're a one-man. If you're a one-man or one-woman operation like myself, like it's tough. It's not easy, and sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions. And with that said, I appreciate all those people that sent those guests, and I appreciate them utilizing the platform and everything. But it was time to change, just like it was time to change my office. And just like it was time to talk about my upcoming book. Let me get that. Sales Won't Save Your Business. It's out March 2nd. It's a full-on book. It's a workbook. There's pages with lines in it for you to write. See, there's lines right there. It's everything that you need to figure out how to focus on the team, the offer, and the process. It's really designed for business owners, managers, salespeople, and aspiring leaders. It talks about empowering yourself. It talks about how to use that empowerment to empower your team, how to empower your processes, and how to empower your offer to get the best customer experience. I've already got some great reviews back out of it, and honestly, the audiobook made me cry. It's not available yet. March 2nd is when it'll be available. If you go to saleswon't.com, you can pick up your copy as soon as it comes out on Amazon. So you can click that pre-order button and reserve your copy, so it'll be there on March 2nd on your doorstep if you have Amazon Prime. No matter where you're consuming this content, click that subscribe button. Leave a rating and review if you're listening on iTunes or on Stitcher or any of those other platforms where podcasts are available. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment below of how you have figured out how you can take a step back and keep yourself motivated going forward with a huge change like that you've made in your business. And I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to talking to all of you again. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Business Podcast featuring Super Joe Pardo. Get more business content at superjoepardo.com. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on The Business Podcast, send an email to joe@superjoepardo.com. The Business Podcast is copyrighted to 234 Solutions, LLC.